The anime begins with a view of a quiet forest, where a man named Tojima is training by punching trees. The reason Toji trains so hard is simple. Ever since he was a kid, he's admired a superhero named Kamen Rider from a TV show. To him, Kamen Rider was a hero unlike any other. His mother would often ask how many times he planned to watch that show, but Tojima would just grin and say, "It's so cool." The show's villain was called Shocker, and Tojima would get completely absorbed, cheering for Kamen Rider to defeat him. He was so glued to the TV that his mom realized she didn't need to worry about him feeling lonely while she was at work. Young Tojima even practiced Kamen Rider's fighting moves himself, shouting that one day he was going to be just like him. Then the story shifts to an incident that took place 23 years ago. A blonde girl named Emily pulls Tojima aside to a private spot at school to confess to him. Sure enough, Tojima happily says he would be glad to go out with her, only for Emily to immediately bow and apologize. He then realizes the entire school is watching and laughing at him. A guy steps out from behind Emily and says that Tojima just has tough luck because, as it turns out, Emily is his girlfriend. The guy's name is Kitagawa. He explains that Emily lost a bet and her punishment was to confess to Tojima. Tojima doesn't even respond to him. He just turns around and walks away. He heads to his favorite spot by the river and starts reminiscing about when he was a kid. Back then, he had seen other children playing by that same river, pretending to be Kamen Rider. They decided who would play Rider with a game of rock, paper, scissors. Even as a kid, Tojima refused to join them. It actually made him a little angry. You can't become Kamen Rider by playing rock, paper, scissors. Unlike them, he wasn't playing pretend, he was serious. He's brought back to the present by Emily's voice calling out to him. She says she knew she would find him there and apologizes again for what happened earlier. Tojima brushes it off, saying it's fine. Emily keeps talking. She says there's something about Tojima, something different. More than half the guys at their school are delinquents, but Tojima doesn't seem like one. Still, he doesn't seem like a normal student either. He doesn't have any friends, right? Some people even said they have seen him standing by this very river, shouting, "Transform!" She says he just seems kind of mysterious. The atmosphere starts to feel a bit romantic until three guys show up behind them. They recognize Emily as Kitagawa's girlfriend and ask if they have broken up. Then they laugh, saying there's no way this twerp could be her new boyfriend. They tell her she might as well go out with one of them instead. Emily tries to ignore them and walk away with Tojima, but the guys grab her. That's when Tojima steps in. He waits until one of them tries to hit him first, and only then does he fight back, saying it's payback. When the scuffle ends, he tells Emily he only gave them what they gave him, and then he walks away. But those guys aren't about to let it go. The next day, they show up with a group of around 30 people, take Emily hostage, and start shouting from the schoolyard up toward the classroom windows, calling out for Tojima. They demand that he come out and face them, saying this is war and mocking him by asking if he doesn't care that his precious Emily is crying. The students are shocked and confused, whispering among themselves, wondering what the hell Tojima could have done to cause this. To make things worse, none of Kitagawa's gang members have shown up for class either. Everyone is panicking. Why aren't the teachers doing anything? Should someone call the police? Ignoring all the noise, Tojima decides to go down and face them. When he confronts the group, their leader steps forward, furious, saying that Tojima made him look like a fool yesterday and that he's going to pay for it. Before the fight begins, Tojima speaks up. He tells them that a bunch of school kids fighting each other is not war. They don't have jobs or responsibilities. They are not real members of society. He says it is pathetic that kids who still rely on their parents for food and shelter talk about rising to the top or waging wars against rival schools. If they truly want to fight, they should be fighting against evil. His words only make the gang angrier, and the fight begins. Unsurprisingly, Tojima gets beaten up badly. The delinquents then decide to take Emily with them, saying they're taking her home. Emily, crying, calls out to Tojima, and somehow, that gives him the strength to stand up again. The gang cannot believe he's still able to move. Then, Tojima begins removing his shirt, revealing strange markings all over his abdomen. He says he didn't want to use this power against them, but they have left him no choice. Then he performs the Kamen Rider transformation sequence. At first, the gang is speechless, but soon they start laughing, mocking him for pretending to be a hero after calling them immature. Tojima doesn't care about their words. He attacks and easily defeats them all. From a distance, Kitagawa watches in disbelief. Meanwhile, Emily runs away, terrified, saying Tojima is scary, but Tojima doesn't follow her. The only thought running through his mind is that he shouldn't have transformed. He should only be using that power to fight his true enemy, Shocker. After that, the story returns to the present. Now an adult, Tojima admits that he knows Kamen Rider and Shocker are just characters from a TV show. They don't exist in the real world. No matter how hard he trains, he can't actually become Kamen Rider. Or at least, that's what he tries to convince himself. But then he suddenly snaps, shouting into the air for Shocker to come and kidnap him, to turn him into a cyborg. Right then, a huge bear appears. Instead of being afraid, Tojima just looks disappointed. For a moment, he thought it was a real Shocker monster. He then proceeds to beat the bear in a fight. He explains that at some point he became strong enough to take on a bear, but that still doesn't make him Kamen Rider. After all, he's 40 years old now. We then see him selling all 17 boxes of his Kamen Rider merchandise. He says he did it because the thought of dying alone in a room filled with toys and collectibles, only for strangers to come in and throw them all away, was too much for him to bear. Later, while lying in his room, Tojima sees a news headline claiming that Shocker has appeared. Excited, he looks into it, only to find that it's about a masked convenience store robbery. According to the report, early yesterday, a nearby convenience store was robbed by criminals wearing black ski masks, styled after the villains from the 1970s Kamen Rider show. They even mimicked the Shocker minions' signature screeches as they stormed the store, attacked the clerks, and emptied the register before fleeing. The police released the footage to the public and are now searching for the suspects. Tojima is disappointed. Robbing convenience stores? That's not very Shocker-like at all. But the robberies don't stop. One after another, copycat crimes keep spreading across the country. Tojima hears about them from his co-workers and on the news. According to one of the suspects who was caught, he already owned a ski mask like that. And when he started yelling like the Shocker goons, he said it felt like he actually became stronger, like he could finally do something with his life. The police, in response, announced that they'll increase patrols and raise security levels nationwide. Tojima can't help but think all these copycats are complete idiots. Later, we see him attending a summer festival, something he's always loved since childhood. Meanwhile, a group of delinquents nearby is planning their next Shocker robbery. Their leader tells them the day's job is a simple shakedown. The others complain, saying they don't mind the ski masks, but the whole act is kind of embarrassing. The leader, however, insists he's always liked Shocker more than Kamen Rider. That's why he became a gangster. In his mind, he's the monster, and the rest of them are the combatants. Their attack begins, and they crash through one of the festival stalls where Tojima happens to be. He hesitates at first, unsure what to do, but then he buys a Kamen Rider mask from another stall, determined to stop them. Even so, he struggles to follow through. Overcome with emotion, he starts crying as he declares himself to be Kamen Rider. Then, driven by sheer passion, he charges in and beats the crap out of the gang. The rush he feels is overwhelming. It's everything he ever dreamed of. But as soon as the fight ends and the crowd starts watching him in awe, Tojima runs away, unable to handle the attention. The very next day, a woman is watching the news about the incident while training in her home gym. She's furious, saying she should have been the one to stop the Shocker robbery. Instead, some guy wearing nothing but a Kamen Rider mask stole the spotlight. Who does he think he is? In a quiet classroom, the air is filled with the soft voice of a female teacher named Yuriko. She stands before her students, reading an old and famous poem. The poem, written by a princess, describes a secret romance in a field of purple flowers at sunset. The princess warns her lover not to wave his sleeves at her, fearing the guards might notice their forbidden connection. Yuriko explains the romantic meaning to the class, describing how the prince replied by saying he could never resent someone so beautiful, even if she belonged to another man. One student in particular, a young man named Asano, watches her with intense longing. He is deeply in love with his teacher and hangs on every word she says. When Yuriko calls on him to rephrase the poem in modern language, he becomes a nervous wreck. He stumbles over his words, accidentally revealing his true feelings by saying that he harbors deep feelings for her, even though she is his teacher. Yuriko calmly corrects his interpretation, telling him that the original phrase works just fine on its own, leaving Asano embarrassed by his outburst. Back at home, Asano lets his imagination run wild. He pictures Yuriko as a refined and elegant lady with fancy hobbies. However, the reality of Yuriko's life is very different. She is a high-energy fitness enthusiast who spends her time working out with incredible intensity. She shouts that she is Tackle, a hero from an old television show. She is even frustrated by the local man she saw wearing a cheap mask, feeling that anyone who calls themselves a hero should take it much more seriously. This passion for heroes comes from her childhood. When she was a little girl, she was bullied by some boys and came home crying. Her father, wanting to give her strength, showed her an old show called Kamen Rider. He introduced her to Yuriko Misaki, a female warrior known as Electro Wave Human Tackle. The young Yuriko was amazed to see a woman fighting alongside the main hero. She spent her days practicing the hero's special throws with her stuffed animals. One day, the young Yuriko discovered a videotape of an episode she had never seen before. Episode 30. Her heart broke as she watched Tackle use a final, desperate move called the Ultra Cyclone to defeat a powerful enemy. The hero gave up her life to save the world, leaving the young girl in tears. When her father found her crying, he explained that Tackle was the greatest heroine because she never gave up, no matter how badly she was beaten. He revealed that he named his daughter after that brave warrior, hoping she would grow up to be just as endearing and strong. From that moment on, Yuriko decided she would become the second Tackle. Now 24 years old, Yuriko continues to live by the hero's code while working as a teacher. Meanwhile, a group of criminals is planning a series of robberies. Their leader is a fighter who feels like he doesn't fit into the modern world. He decides to lead his gang in robbing 5 different convenience stores in a row. As these robbers begin their crime spree, Asano finds Yuriko near one of the stores. He is determined to confess his love properly and starts shouting that he likes her over and over again. Yuriko is distracted because she can see the shocker robbers nearby. She wants to stop them, but Asano keeps blocking her path with his repeated confessions. Eventually, Yuriko sees the robbers getting away and can no longer stay on the sidelines. Tojima also arrives on the scene, but he is quickly overwhelmed by emotion and starts crying when he faces the robbers. Yuriko arrives and is disgusted by his cheap-looking costume. She decides it is time to show everyone what a real hero looks like. Right in front of her student, she changes into her professional superhero suit. She hands her bag to a stunned Asano and asks him if he still likes her now that he sees who she truly is. Without waiting for an answer, Yuriko charges into battle. She announces herself as the Electro-Wave Human Tackle. The robbers mock her, making rude comments about her appearance, but they quickly regret it. Yuriko uses her signature move, the Electro-Wave Throw, tossing the criminals through the air with ease. After the fight, she quickly retrieves her bag from Asano. She asks him to keep her identity a secret, and he happily agrees, shouting once more that he loves her. Tojima watches her leave, wondering if she loves the character of Tackle even more than he loves Kamen Rider. The next day, the news is filled with stories about the mysterious woman who defeated the robbers. Yuriko sees the reports at school and feels a sense of pride. However, the criminals are not finished. The leader of the robbers is inspired by the appearance of the heroes. He buys a monster mask and modifies it to look more intimidating. He declares that he is now a monster called Yakuza Man. He believes that if there are heroes in the world, there must be a monster for them to fight. He gathers his gang and prepares for another robbery that very night. The gang targets a convenience store where a man is currently live streaming to his followers. The streamer is excited about the attention and begins filming the robbery as it happens, thinking the danger will make him famous. He records the robbers as they clear the shelves and demand money from the register. Both Tojima and Yuriko see the live stream on their phones and begin racing toward the store to stop the crime. Inside the store, the chaos takes a strange turn. A customer steps forward and tells the robbers they are being a nuisance. The streamer and the robbers are confused, wondering if this man is another vigilante. The man suddenly reveals a full, high-quality shocker suit. He claims that he is the true representative of the villainous organization. Tojima and Yuriko arrive at the convenience store at the exact same moment. Tojima is already in his hero mindset, shouting about his transformation, but Yuriko is far from impressed. She looks at him with a mix of anger and disappointment, telling him that what he is doing is a disgrace to the name of Kamen Rider. She calls him out for being a middle-aged man running around in a cheap, flimsy mask and asks him if he feels any shame at all. To show him the difference between a hobbyist and a true warrior, she transforms into Electro-Wave Human Tackle right before his eyes. Tojima recognizes her from their previous encounter, but Yuriko remains firm, stating that she has absolutely nothing to be ashamed of because her heart is fully committed to her hero identity. Inside the store, the situation is chaotic. The leader of the local robbers is actually happy to see a real shocker combatant, even as his own underlings are being beaten into the ground. He confesses that he has loved Shocker since he was a young boy, and that his admiration for them is the reason he became a gang leader. His joy is short-lived, however, as the real Shocker soldier shows no mercy and continues the assault. When Tojima enters the store and sees the genuine Shocker combatant, he is overcome with emotion. Instead of being afraid, he begins to cry tears of joy. He feels a strange urge to hug the villain because, if this person is real, it means someone finally exists who can withstand his superhuman strength. He throws a powerful punch, and when the combatant stands back up, Tojima is thrilled to realize he can finally fight at full power. But Yuriko is not about to let Tojima have all the glory. She pushes him aside and declares that it is her turn to fight, She proclaims that she is the living proof that Tackle is not dead, identifying herself as Tackle 2. The two of them, despite their bickering, end up working as a team. They combine their signature moves, the electro-wave throw and the rider kick, to finally bring down the Shocker Soldier. After the victory, Yuriko warns Tojima to stay out of her way next time, telling him that his interference was dangerous. Suddenly, a new figure appears. This man has a terrifying, monstrous mouth and watches them with a cold gaze. He notes that ordinary humans are apparently capable of defeating a combatant now. He decides that killing too many people might cause problems for his organization later, so he chooses to leave without a fight. His presence leaves Tojima and Yuriko shaken, as they realize they have just seen a true monster. After the adrenaline fades, Tojima and Yuriko go to a nearby diner to process everything. They exchange names and ages, and Yuriko is blunt, telling the 40-year-old Tojima that his behavior is something that should stay in childhood. Tojima defends himself, claiming his heart is more like a hero's than any child's could be. Despite the tension, Yuriko admits she is grateful for the conversation because it keeps her from focusing too much on the terrifying reality they just faced. They both agree that Shocker is real and that they have now fought a true enemy. Their conversation is interrupted by the diner's manager, Mitsuba. He reveals that he has been listening to them and knows their names because he overheard their talk. He explains that he is just like them and can tell they are all the same kind of people. He tells them that he is one of the few witnesses to the evil of Shocker and offers to tell them his story. Although Yuriko is hesitant and wants to go home, Tojima is eager to hear everything, so Mitsuba begins a long journey into his past. Mitsuba takes them back to when he was 6 years old. There was a house in his neighborhood filled with lush fruits and vegetables, owned by a man who spent all his time gardening. Mitsuba and his brother would stop by to eat tomatoes and watermelons. However, the neighbors complained about the overgrown plants, and men in suits eventually arrived to tell the owner to clean it up. Soon after, 2 thugs arrived and threatened to burn the house down if the plants weren't removed. The gardener tried to be kind, offering the thugs fruit, but they grew violent. In a shocking turn, the gardener transformed into a Shocker combatant. He brutally knocked out the thugs and deliberately set his own house on fire. The young Mitsuba and his brother had to wake the unconscious men and help them escape the flames. Mitsuba explains that this event sparked his lifelong search for the organization. He warns Tojima and Yuriko that Shocker has already moved deep into human society, hiding in plain sight. As the night ends, Yuriko agrees to exchange contact information with Tojima, but only for the purpose of sharing intelligence about their enemy. Tojima is overjoyed at the chance to stay in touch. Meanwhile, Mitsuba is confronted by his girlfriend, Yukarisu, who is a waitress at the diner. She is jealous of him talking to Yuriko, but Mitsuba reassures her of his love. To himself, however, he resolves to keep fighting Shocker so he can protect her from the darkness he knows is out there. The next day at school, Asano goes looking for Yuriko, but finds her in a storage room with a student. It is Yukarisu, but with glasses and without her work uniform, she seems like a different person. She speaks to Yuriko in a cold, threatening tone. She admits that she is the reason no other girls ever stay around Mitsuba for long, because she attacks anyone who shows interest in him. The conversation takes a deadly turn when Yukarisu mentions that she loves the feeling of hate turning into love. She mocks Mitsuba for being obsessed with finding Shocker, revealing a terrifying secret. While he is out searching for the organization, he has no idea that his own girlfriend is actually a member of Shocker. With a look of pure malice, she tells Yuriko to die, revealing her true villainous nature. Yuriko and Yukarisu stand face to face in the gym storage room, the air thick with tension. When Yukarisu realizes that the student Asano is watching from the shadows, her expression turns murderous. She declares that because he has seen her true face, she must kill him as well. Yuriko refuses to let this happen and asks if the girl truly believes she has the power to take a life. As Yukarisu mocks her, Yuriko quickly changes into her superhero suit. She introduces herself as Electro-Wave Human Tackle, a name that confuses her opponent. Yukarisu laughs, thinking a mere costume cannot bridge the gap between a normal human and a member of Shocker. Yuriko tells Asano to run home immediately. Then, the fight begins, and it is quickly clear that while Yukarisu possesses incredible brute strength, she has no actual training. She lunges at Yuriko with wild, heavy swings, but Yuriko dodges them with ease. With a swift movement, Yuriko uses her signature electro-wave throw, slamming Yukarisu into the ground and knocking her unconscious. While training, Tojima receives a message on his phone. It is from Yuriko, asking for his help with a serious matter. He meets her, and together they carry the unconscious Yukarisu to find Mitsuba. When they do, Yuriko and Tojima explain the truth. Yukarisu is actually a member of Shocker. Mitsuba is stunned and struggles to believe that the girl he loves is one of his family's greatest enemies. Yuriko notes that he is quite dense for never noticing her secret life. Mitsuba becomes emotional, realizing he needs to explain the rest of his history to show why this hurts so much. He prepares to tell them about the most terrifying part of his life, his encounter with a real monster. Mitsuba describes a summer vacation from his childhood. He and his older brother Ichio were visiting their grandparents' house in the suburbs. Their peaceful evening was ruined when a pair of thieves, a man and a woman, broke in to steal their belongings. The young Ichio tried to fight back, showing great spirit, but the male thief suddenly transformed into a Shocker soldier to overpower the child. The two criminals then made themselves at home, eating the family's food and watching news reports about their own previous robberies. The woman seemed to be a normal human, following the Shocker member like a loyal partner. The situation changed when Mitsuba's grandmother returned home. She was a tall, powerful woman who didn't hesitate for a second. She used a heavy gardening tool to stab the male thief in the shoulder. While the criminal screamed in pain, the grandmother calmly released her family. She then dragged the thief out of the room to finish the fight. The children and their grandfather waited until they heard a horrifying sound. They rushed outside only to find a nightmare. A real winged monster had arrived. This creature had easily killed the grandmother and both of the thieves. When the grandfather tried to protect the boys, the monster killed him as well. For some reason, the beast was not interested in the children. It simply looked at them and flew away, leaving them alone in the middle of a tragedy. As Mitsuba finishes his story, his older brother Ichio arrives. He is a man who radiates a powerful and dangerous energy. Ichio is immediately suspicious of Yuriko and Tojima, but Tojima is more interested in proving his own worth. The two men begin to argue about who the strongest hero is. Tojima stands by the original Kamen Rider, but Ichio claims that V3 is the greatest. Ichio reveals that since the day his grandparents died, he has given up his humanity to seek revenge. He claims his very soul has become V3. To prove his point, he challenges Tojima to a fight. Ichio is a master of martial arts, and his technique is far superior to Tojima's self-taught style. He manages to throw Tojima to the ground, explaining that V3 possesses the combined power of the first two riders. Yuriko tries to step in to fight next, but Tojima stubbornly refuses her help, so Yuriko quickly changes back into her schoolteacher clothes. That distracts Ichio for just a moment, allowing Tojima to land a heavy punch. The two men continue to trade blows, with Tojima using his massive power to block Ichio's strongest kicks. Ichio realizes that Tojima has a soul just like his own, and finds the battle interesting. In the middle of the fighting, Yukarisu finally wakes up. When Ichio sees her in her Shocker form, he immediately moves to kill her. However, Mitsuba jumps in the way to protect her. Ichio is furious and demands to know why his brother would defend a monster. Mitsuba says that even if she is in Shocker, she is still his girlfriend. Yukarisu is deeply touched by Mitsuba's loyalty. She asks him to say it one more time, and when he does, she kisses him in front of everyone. However, the romance is short-lived. Yukarisu explains that her mission was to monitor people who knew about Shocker and to kill them if they found allies. She uses her powers to summon help, and suddenly several people nearby reveal themselves to be hidden Shocker members. They gather around, ready to attack. With tears in her eyes, Yukarisu says she loves Mitsuba, but she cannot let him live. The battle begins, and Yukarisu watches in absolute horror as the trio, Yuriko, Tojima, and Ichio, move with a level of speed and precision that seems impossible for normal people. Yukarisu is completely stunned. Even though these three are only human, they have just completely wiped out an entire squad of Shocker soldiers. As the dust settles, Ichio stands tall, his cold gaze shifting to Yukarisu. He points out that she is the only one left standing and prepares to deal with her. But Mitsuba immediately jumps in the way. Mitsuba begs his brother for a moment to speak with her, but Ichio is in no mood for patience. He demands an answer right now regarding Mitsuba's intentions. He asks his younger brother if he actually plans to marry this Shocker combatant. The question catches everyone off guard. To Ichio, there is no middle ground in a relationship. Either a man and a woman intend to marry, or they are nothing at all. Mitsuba tries to find a compromise, but Ichio refuses to listen, insisting that there are only two options. The tense family moment is interrupted by a new presence. The sickly, scrawny man that Yuriko and Tojima encountered before walks into the area, his very presence causing Yukarisu to fall into a state of total panic. She identifies him as a monster, but Ichio is skeptical. He looks at the scrawny man and mocks the idea that such a weak-looking person could be a threat. The man finally has enough of Ichio's loud and rude questioning. He tells Ichio to shut up, noting that he clearly causes trouble wherever he goes. He claims to have much better manners than the humans before him, but then he literally drops his human mask. He reveals a monstrous mouth hidden beneath his face. Seeing the danger, Mitsuba suddenly declares that he is going to protect Yukarisu and runs off into the distance, leaving everyone wondering what he is planning to do. With Mitsuba gone, the three heroes prepare to face the monster, but the three begin to bicker about who should get to fight first. Ichio insists he can handle it alone, while Tojima and Yuriko refuse to stay out of the fray. The monster seems to laugh at their lack of coordination. The fight is brutal. Despite their best efforts, the monster is incredibly fast and strong, giving them a serious run for their money. Then, the monster decides to stop playing around. He peels away the rest of his human face to reveal his true form, the Spider-Man. He warns them that since they are giving him no choice, he is going to take the initiative and take their heads off. Just as the Spider-Man prepares to strike, a strong wire suddenly wraps around his body, trapping him. Everyone looks around in confusion until they see Mitsuba standing nearby, dressed in a new outfit. Tojima immediately recognizes the costume. He explains that Mitsuba has become Riderman, the fourth rider who famously partnered with V3. Yukarisu is a bit embarrassed by her boyfriend's cosplay, pointing out that he just changed his clothes, but Mitsuba insists that it was a true transformation. Mitsuba quickly takes charge of the strategy, telling Ichio and the others that they cannot win this fight right now and must retreat. He explains that his wire is strong enough to hold back two tanks, giving them a chance to run. Yukarisu is confused by everything, especially why Mitsuba chose to be Riderman. Mitsuba decides it is time for her to know the story of the conflict between him and his brother. In a flashback, we see the brothers as children, obsessed with the story of Shiro, the man who became Kamen Rider V3 after losing his family. They saw their own tragedy reflected in his story. However, Ichio was always the bossy older brother. Whenever they played, he insisted on being V3 and refused to let Mitsuba take a turn unless he could win a fight. Mitsuba tried his best, but he was never a match for his older brother. The rivalry continued into their teenage years. They decided to have one final duel to see who would inherit the mantle of V3. They fought until dusk, a long and exhausting stalemate that only ended when Ichio used his superior skill to finally win. Mitsuba begged for a chance to be the hero just once, but Ichio declared that he was the one more devoted to the cause. As a kindness, Ichio broke Mitsuba's arm with a powerful chop. Back at home, Ichio explained his reasoning. He told Mitsuba that as the younger brother, he was destined to be the partner, Riderman. He pointed out that the original Riderman lost his arm, and by breaking Mitsuba's arm, he was making him a perfect match for the hero. He chose the left arm because Mitsuba is right-handed, which he considered a sign of his brotherly love. Though Mitsuba punched him as payback, he eventually grew to appreciate the gesture. He realized that while the other riders are cyborgs, Riderman is a human who uses his brains and gadgets to fight, which makes him the best hero in Mitsuba's eyes. Mitsuba is proud of his homemade gadgets, but the Spider-Man has a different plan. Using a form of mental manipulation, the monster orders Yukarisu to kill her boyfriend. Under the trance, Yukarisu begins to rain heavy punches on Mitsuba. The others try to help, but Mitsuba tells them to stay back, insisting that this is a private matter between him and his girlfriend. As the blows land, Mitsuba shouts out his true feelings. He apologizes for not giving a real answer to Ichio's question earlier. He tells Yukarisu that even if she is a member of Shocker, his love for her is unchanging. He asks her to marry him. The sincerity of his words breaks the monster's mind control. Yukarisu stops her assault, her eyes filling with tears of joy as she accepts his proposal and tells him she loves him too. Seeing that, the Spider-Man easily breaks the ropes that were binding him and undergoes one final horrifying transformation. His body grows and shifts until he is no longer a man-shaped creature, but a massive, terrifying monster. The heroes look on in awe and fear as they realize the true battle is only just beginning. Without warning, the monster lunges forward, aiming a lethal strike at Mitsuba. Seeing the danger, Yukarisu throws herself in front of him, bracing her body to absorb the impact of the creature's massive fist. The force of the blow is overwhelming. She is sent flying backward into the others, and the entire group is scattered across the ground from the sheer power of the collision. The monster stands still for a moment, expressing its genuine shock that a female combatant would actually betray their organization. It seems to find the idea of such a betrayal almost impossible to believe. As the heroes slowly pull themselves up from the dirt, a chaotic argument breaks out. Every one of them wants to be the one to face the threat. The air is thick with desperation and the desire to protect one another. However, the atmosphere shifts when Tojima moves to the front of the group. He speaks with a calm but intense conviction, recalling a specific moment from the 13th episode of the original Kamen Rider series. He describes how the hero was initially defeated by a foe, but after rigorous training, returned to face an entire army of revived monsters. He explains that the hero did not hesitate or give up even an inch of ground, instead rushing headlong into the fray alone. Tojima declares that was the exact moment he decided he wanted to be a hero, and because a true Kamen Rider never retreats, he will not back down now. With a surge of adrenaline, Tojima lunges at the monster. He puts all his weight and training into a single, powerful blow, shouting the name of the iconic Rider Punch. The strike connects perfectly, knocking the massive creature to the ground. His friends watch in utter disbelief, amazed that he actually managed to land such a hit. Even the monster is stunned, wondering what kind of person it is actually fighting. The commotion attracts the attention of nearby pedestrians who stop to watch, curiously asking if someone is filming a movie. Fearing that the secret existence of the Shocker organization will be exposed to the public, the monster decides to retreat. It fires a strange substance at its own defeated combatants, causing them to dissolve into nothingness before it vanishes. The bystanders, seeing nothing left but a group of strange people, simply continue their walk, leaving Tojima to weep tears of pure joy at his successful heroic moment. Looking to celebrate their survival, Ichio leads the group through the city streets to a local establishment called Futaba's Pub. They are greeted at the entrance by Futaba, who turns out to be the sister of Ichio and Mitsuba. The group is surprised by the connection, but the warm family reunion they might have expected quickly turns into a shouting match. Futaba is visibly angry to see her brother and immediately asks why he is there. Ichio tries to act casual, claiming he chose the place because he wanted to see her, but Futaba is having none of it. She reminds him that she has already banned him from the pub and tells him to leave. Mitsuba has to step in to act as a peacemaker. He promises to keep an eye on his older brother and reminds Futaba that they have guests with them. Reluctantly, Futaba agrees to let them stay on the condition that they drink quietly in a private room. She warns them that if there is any trouble, they will regret it. Once they are settled inside with their drinks, the mood lightens slightly. Ichio praises Tojima for his impressive punch, and Tojima humbly admits it was the best one he has ever thrown, feeling that all his hard work has finally yielded results. Suddenly, Ichio changes the subject to something far more serious. He announces that they should begin a wedding ceremony for Mitsuba and Yukarisu right then and there. The group is stunned by the suddenness of the suggestion, wondering if a pub is really the right place for such a significant event. Ichio ignores their confusion and begins to act as the official for the marriage, thanking everyone for gathering to celebrate his brother's union. Futaba bursts into the room to tell them to keep their voices down, but Ichio insists she stay and watch as her brother gets married. Mitsuba takes the floor to express his gratitude to his friends. He admits that while the ceremony is happening much sooner than he expected due to his brother's pushiness, he feels he will be grateful for it by the next day. However, he points out a major unresolved issue. While he has proposed to Yukarisu and knows they have feelings for each other, she never actually gave him a formal answer. He turns to her and asks once more if she will marry him. Instead of speaking, Yukarisu leans in and kisses him, signaling her clear acceptance. The room erupts in congratulations, though Futaba remains skeptical, wondering if people can really get married just by doing that. The guests begin to introduce themselves to her properly. Yuriko reveals that she is a high school teacher who also goes by the name Tackle, and Tojima proudly identifies himself as Kamen Rider. When it is Yukarisu's turn, she explains her complicated history as a Shocker combatant. She admits she isn't entirely sure how she ended up in the organization, but her job was to monitor people who knew too much about them. She shares the story of how she and Mitsuba started their relationship. She approached him at his workplace and asked if he would go out with her. He agreed immediately, which surprised her because of how simple and easy the interaction was. However, Mitsuba was the one who felt worried, telling her that she would probably get bored with him quite quickly. Despite his fears, the opposite happened. Mitsuba would spend hours talking passionately about the details of the Kamen Rider shows, specifically focusing on the character of Riderman. Even though he warned her that his explanations could take 6 hours, she found herself falling in love with the way he spoke so fervently about his heroes. She believes that his passion was actually strong enough to reverse the brainwashing she had undergone. However, she expresses deep fear that the organization will come to kill her for her betrayal. Mitsuba firmly promises to protect her, but Futaba finds the entire situation completely insane. The celebration takes a dark turn when Ichio asks Futaba to say something nice to congratulate the couple. Instead, Futaba snaps and begins hitting Ichio. furious that he called her foolish. Ichio tries to pose and claims he needs to transform into V3, but Futaba mocks him, saying he looks exactly the same. She decides to finally unleash years of built-up resentment. She tells her brother that his obsession with heroes ruined her life. Through a flashback, she describes a painful memory from the 2nd grade. Ichio had performed a transformation pose in front of her friends, claiming he was fighting evil. Instead of being impressed, her friends were terrified and decided to stop hanging out with her because they thought her brother was a scary freak. Futaba explains that this treatment turned her into a social outcast from elementary school all the way through high school graduation. Because of his behavior, she never had a single true friend growing up. She feels it is an insult for him to bring his new friends into her business after everything he put her through. Mitsuba eventually tells her to stop, and Futaba softens for a moment, telling her younger brother that she really is happy for him. But as she looks at Ichio, her anger returns. She tells him she is finished with his nonsense, but before she leaves, she screams at them to finally order some food for the table. The group eventually settles into a planning session, with Yukarisu officially joining their cause. She declares that as long as she is with Mitsuba, she is willing to fight the organization that once controlled her. Ichio is satisfied, noting that the heroes have finally assembled to take the fight to their enemies. In a different part of the city, a high-stakes meeting takes place between two powerful mafia bosses. They have just completed a massive deal involving a large amount of money and are looking for a way to celebrate. One of the bosses, Matsu, suggests a form of authentic entertainment. He proposes that they have their men fight each other one-on-one to see who is truly the strongest. He offers a reward of 1 million yen to anyone who can win, which immediately excites the younger gangsters in the room. Matsu calls for a man named Nakao. He admits that Nakao is a bit of a strange gangster who is often more trouble than he is worth. Nakao is revealed to be the man who was leading the recent string of robberies while wearing a mask. He tells his subordinates that he loved the feeling of power he had while wearing the mask and promises to buy them a big dinner after he wins the fight. When he arrives before the bosses, they are surprised to learn he is 44 years old, making him older than the men he is about to fight. The first opponent is a young man who boasts about his history in competitive judo. He is confident that the prize money belongs to him, but the fight is over almost as soon as it begins. Nakao wins easily. The second opponent is an ex-boxer who serves as a bodyguard. He manages to land one hit on Nakao, knocking his glasses loose, but Nakao quickly recovers and defeats him as well. The final contender is a former sumo wrestler, but Nakao uses a dirty tactic by kicking him in the groin before finishing him off. The other boss is impressed by the display but isn't ready to end the night. He challenges Nakao to face one more opponent, offering a staggering 5 million yen if he can win. He describes this final fighter as being completely invincible. As the man walks into the room, he is introduced as Kumoda. Kumoda is the human form of the very same monster that the heroes were fighting at the start of the night. The atmosphere in the meeting room is thick with tension as Matsu looks at Kumoda with deep skepticism. He questions the claim that this man is invincible and asks for Nakao's opinion on the matter. Nakao watches the newcomer closely, sensing an aura that is not exactly bloodlust, but suggests Kumoda is a man who knows exactly what he is doing. Before any more words can be exchanged, the silence is shattered by the sudden sound of gunshots ringing out from outside the room. The doors burst open as a group of armed men storm inside. Without hesitation, they open fire, killing both of the mafia bosses instantly. They even turn their weapons on Kumoda, riddling him with bullets. Nakao reacts with fury, shouting for his subordinates to take their fallen boss and escape while they still can. The gunmen are not interested in chasing them. They are only there for the money and the merchandise. They quickly gather the loot and prepare to leave the scene of the massacre. Nakao's subordinates are terrified, asking what just happened. Nakao tells them grimly that this was the kind of robbery that has nothing to do with Shocker. He hands them a wad of money and tells them to go eat some yakiniku, promising to meet up with them later. As the armed men prepare to exit, they are horrified to see Kumoda standing up again, his body seemingly unaffected by the bullets. To their horror, Kumoda transforms back into his monstrous form. Seeing this, Nakao feels as though his life is finally flashing before his eyes, and he begins to remember why the image of Shocker has been haunting him since he was a child. In a vivid flashback to his childhood, a young Nakao sits in front of a television, cheering as Kamen Rider defeats the forces of Shocker. His father enters the room with a look of pure excitement, announcing that he has finally perfected a new recipe for taiyaki. He believes this is the big break they have been waiting for. He offers a sample to his son, who finds the treat absolutely delicious. His father explains the secret. He used a special cream puff dough, and a custom-made mold that cost him over 1,000,000 yen. The dough is thin and crispy, filled to the brim with incredibly smooth red bean paste. The father calls his creation the super stuffed red bean taiyaki. He describes the experience of eating it as a sweet moment with a princess of red beans. He is hopeful that if the business succeeds, Nakao's mother might even come back to them. He promises to buy Nakao all the Kamen Rider transformation toys he wants. He even shares his new catchphrase, "Life is like red bean paste because you have to enjoy it from one end to the other." However, the reality is much harsher. They spend days operating a food truck, but they fail to sell a single thing. One night, the father returns home with a heavy heart. Nakao proudly shows his father a Kamen Rider mask he made himself, but his father has devastating news. He says he is giving up on the taiyaki business to move in with a wealthy, older woman. This woman soon arrives, mockingly calling the father her new dog. The father explains that this is the only way to pay off his massive debts and tells Nakao he must go live with his grandfather. Nakao cries out, begging his father to stay, but he is left behind. Days later, in the countryside, Nakao watches other children playing a game of Kamen Rider. When they ask him to play, they assume he wants to be the hero, but Nakao surprises them by declaring that he wants to be Shocker, because there is no such thing as a superhero. He cries as he tells them that his father tried his hardest and did everything right, yet no one helped them in the end. He decides that by being Shocker, he will be strong enough to survive on his own without needing anyone else. Returning to the present, the monster holds Nakao suspended high in the air with its arm plunged entirely through his abdomen. In his final moments of consciousness, Nakao looks at the creature and realizes it is a true Shocker monster. Instead of fighting it, he begs for the chance to join the organization. While this is happening, his underlings are at a restaurant, happily stuffing themselves with yakiniku just as he ordered. They briefly wonder if their leader is okay, but they quickly get distracted by the delicious meat and decide that their only option is to keep eating until he shows up. Sometime later, Nakao wakes up on a park bench. He is shocked to find himself alive, especially since his clothes are soaked in blood, yet he has no visible wounds. He makes his way to the restaurant to find his men finishing their massive meal. They are stunned to see him covered in blood but appearing perfectly healthy. Nakao admits that he is fine, though he has a hard time remembering exactly what happened after the fight. When the bill arrives, it comes to nearly 300,000 yen. Nakao pays the tab and tells the waitress to keep the change. He scolds his men for eating so much, but he realizes that there aren't many benefits to working for someone like him anyway. His men insist that they are just happy to work for him, a sentiment that Nakao finds heartwarming, but a bit ridiculous. Then, Nakao suddenly and accidentally transforms into a Shocker combatant. His men are amazed, shouting that he has actually become a part of the organization. Nakao finds that he can control the transformation perfectly, switching back and forth at will. He realizes that his childhood dream has technically come true. His men are delighted by his new appearance and super strength. They even ask him to carry them, and he easily picks up all three of them in his arms, though he admits it is a little tiring. The mood becomes more serious as they discuss the future of their gang. With their boss dead, the organization is likely to dissolve. Nakao tells his men that they should try to live as normal civilians from now on, because they are still young and can start over. He warns them that sometimes things just end, and that's the way of the world. However, his men refuse to leave his side, vowing to follow him wherever he goes next. While they talk, one of the men gives Nakao a snack he bought nearby. As soon as he tastes it, Nakao is hit with a wave of nostalgia. He asks where it came from and sees a food truck nearby that looks exactly like the one his father used to own. He spots an old man operating the truck, but the man is currently being threatened by a group of thugs. Nakao steps in to defend the old man. The thugs recognize him as a legendary fighter from the Matsu gang who beat up several men years ago. One of the thugs was actually among those victims and wants revenge. The old man tries to stop the fighting, but the thugs claim that since his former gang is history, he has no protection. Nakao counters that the gang isn't dead as long as he is still there. He makes quick work of the smaller thugs, using a baseball bat they brought against them. However, the last man is a former professional wrestler and manages to knock Nakao down. Nakao gets back up and admits that he is actually a fan of wrestling. He transforms into his Shocker form and uses a devastating move called a Tiger Driver to defeat the massive man. After the fight, Nakao tells the old man to call the police on the thugs. He looks at the man and realizes with certainty that it is his father. He notes that while he never had dreams or hope, his father never gave up on his own dream of selling taiyaki. Nakao doesn't reveal who he is, but he tells the old man that the snack was nostalgic and very good. He tells his father to take care of himself and wishes him luck. When the old man asks who he is, Nakao simply says he is a shocker combatant who was passing through. Later, the group of heroes led by Tojima reads the news about the incident. The headlines scream about a shocker hero appearing to save a food truck from attackers. The heroes are completely outraged by the idea, refusing to believe for a moment that such a thing could ever exist.